This video is about how to do the science research project. So if we click on the science research project, you're going to see that this assignment requires synthesis or making new knowledge from research, and also provides practice translating scientific content into a genre appropriate for a popular common audience. So in your research on a topic, when you're looking at scholarly sources, you notice that the structure of a scientific article is very precise, that scientific methods are introduced, there's all sorts of language that is specific to that particular branch of science, and that sources are heavily cited and referenced to establish credibility. However, that information can really be overwhelming for an average, ordinary audience member. Your task is going to be look at the research on your topic and take that convoluted, high-level language and those high-level ideas and present those ideas at a level that is appropriate for the average person. Okay, think of it kind of like when you speak to a child, you have to change your tone of voice. Maybe you kind of get down on their level and you change the words that you use. You can't explain certain things to a 5-year-old child in the same way that you can explain them to a 35-year-old adult, right? Because that child's understanding, their level of ability to understand is very different. So you are taking all of this elevated language and these ideas from your scientific articles, and you're going to communicate them for a common audience, okay? Because those articles are written for other scientists, other experts in the field. You're going to read it, though, and communicate it for the average Joe, okay? So you're going to choose 2 sources from your annotated bibliography. So if you're in the 16-week version, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're doing the 8-week version, you didn't do the annotated bibliography. You're just going to choose 2 scientific sources or scholarly sources about a natural science topic. Okay. You're going to choose 2 articles, and you're going to synthesize those 2 articles. Okay, that means you want to read those articles and figure out what are they about? How do they overlap? How are they similar? How are they different? How are they contributing to understanding this topic? And you want to be able to merge the ideas between them. Because when you're synthesizing, it's not just like, oh, well, I know what this one says, and I know what this one says, but rather you're making connections across the 2 texts. Okay, so you want to think about where do they connect together or diverge from each other? What specific themes or topics can you find to discuss that are relevant to both articles? And so forth. So this web page gives you some deeper understanding of what synthesis is. Then you're going to select, now that you've chosen 2 articles that you're going to work with. Again, if you're in the 16-week version, they come from your annotated bibliography. If you're doing the 8-week version, you're going to pick a natural science topic, find 2 articles that are scholarly articles using the FTCC database or NC Live, and you're going to synthesize the information from those 2 articles about that same topic. But then you get to choose your project format. You can do a narrated presentation, you can do a podcast episode or video essay, or you can do a traditional essay where you actually type an essay with an infographic that you create. So for the narrated presentation, there's all these details here. You can use PowerPoint, you can record your voice over it, but your narration needs to total 7 to 10 minutes. For a podcast episode or video essay, you could think of this as like those video essays where people discuss on YouTube, where they discuss like something that they've read or something that's happened in the news, and they give their response to it. You can do something like that. Or you can even have a friend participate where you script out what you're going to say and what they're going to say, and you guys do kind of a conversation. But again, it needs to be 7 to 10 minutes long. Or you can write a traditional 3 to 4 page essay in APA format discussing what you've learned from your research in these from these articles, and then you need to create an infographic. The infographic can be created using any website like Canva, Pictochart, Venngage, etc. You're not going to copy an infographic that you find. You're going to make your own. Now, a lot of students say, what is an infographic? So I'll just type in infographic examples, and you're going to see that an infographic is just information presented in graphic form. So for example, this one here has something to do with the brain, and notice it has data, like statistics about the brain, and so you can have text, you can have data or ideas that come from your two studies, but it's going to be a one-page infographic that you create if you choose that option. Okay? So here's some tips on how you choose your genre or which one of these options you want. And then here are some points of the sorts of things that you should include in the content of your project. Like, what did the scientific research reveal about your topic and what surprised you? How do these two sources interact? How do they compare or contrast? And how does that affect you, what you've learned? What are the limitations to the studies? Maybe the studies only focus on a certain group of people, or only focus on, since it's natural sciences, maybe it only focuses on a certain aspect of the topic and doesn't focus on the other. That's a limitation, right? Because, well, we've learned something about this aspect of the topic, but we don't know how it applies at a grand scale or all the way across the board, right? So you want to think about, well, what are some possible limitations of these studies? And how, if they had done it differently, could that have impacted the results? What are the implications of the results of these studies? Like, how is this going to affect our world, people on the world, how we think about things, and how can further research make a difference for your topic? Or what would you like to see explored more? Sometimes you'll do all this research and you'll see that the studies only have done research on certain aspects of the topic, and you're still going, but wait a minute, what about this? Why hasn't someone done research on this? And so you can explain what that extra part is that seems to be missing from the research. So you're going to do this science research project. I've given you an example here in the Explore Academic to Popular Science of what I mean by taking something that is of elevated language or that is specific to that discipline and making it accessible to a common audience. So for example, there's a video of, there's an article that is a scientific research article about a snake robot, and then what someone did is they took that information and they made it into a video for a common audience here. And then there's another version of it here as well. So all of this really complex language and ideas was kind of distilled or boiled down to the bottom line for all the rest of us that aren't engineers, that would need a much more basic presentation. And that's essentially what you what you are doing with your assignment. Okay, so that's just an example for you to think about. So you have a science research progress report that you're going to submit to me. So as you're working on this, you're going to give me 100 words on these topics, letting me know how you're doing on the project and asking any questions that you might have so that I can help you out. And then the final version is going to be submitted here to the Science Research Project tab. And you'll upload your PowerPoint or your video or whatever version you have created here for grading. Okay? If you have any questions, send me an email. Thanks.